The morning after the May budget, the headlines were near enough unanimous. Negative gearing, they said, was finished. Done. It's a good headline. It's also wrong. Negative gearing wasn't abolished. In May, it was redrawn along a line that most of the coverage walked straight past. And that line runs between residential property and commercial property. Once you see it, a good deal of the investment logic in this part of Sydney quietly rearranges itself. I'm Alan Weiss, and let me take you through exactly what happened, because the precision here is the whole point. Start with residential. From the 1st of July 2027, an investor who buys an established home after budget night, that's 7:30 in the evening, the 12th of May 2026, will no longer be able to deduct the rental loss against their salary. The loss gets quarantined. It can only be set against the other residential rental income or against the capital gain when the property is finally sold. Now, two things matter here, and I want to be fair about both. If you already own a negatively geared property on budget night, you're grandfathered. Nothing changes for you, and new builds are exempt entirely. Buy something newly constructed and you keep the deduction in full. The change is aimed squarely at the established home, bought from budget night onward. And I'll add, this is still proposed. It's not yet law. So that's residential. Now, commercial, nothing. Commercial was left completely alone. The shop, the warehouse, the suburban office, the medical suite. An investor can still deduct that loss against their salary, their business income, anything at all, exactly as they could the day before the budget. The accounting bodies and the major firms are unusually blunt about it. The changes apply to residential only. Commercial keeps every arrangement it had. Now here's why that's a bigger deal than it first looks. Negative gearing was never a little bonus on the side of residential. It was structural. A Sydney house returns a gross rental yield of about 3.1%, the lowest of any capital city in the country, funded at investor rates of 6 to nearly 7%, and the property loses money every single week, by design. The whole thing only ever worked because the tax system stood behind the loss. You carried the shortfall, you deducted it against your wage, and you waited for capital growth to settle the account. Take away that deduction, and you haven't tweaked the model. You've pulled out the beam it was resting on. Treasury's own numbers put it plainly. On a property worth $1 million, running a rental loss of around $14,800 a year, an investor on $210,000 currently saves close to $7,000 in tax every year. Under the new rules, that yearly saving is simply gone. Commercial sits on the other side of that line. At yields of 5.5 to 7.5%, a well-bought commercial property often doesn't run at a loss at all. It pays its own way from the first month. And where it is geared into a loss, the deduction still works in full. So think about what the budget has actually done. It's withdrawn tax support from the asset that was already the weaker income proposition and left it untouched on the stronger one. I won't oversell this because the case doesn't need it. If you already own, this is a non-event, hold your position and carry on. New builds keep the old treatment, and Sydney land is still scarce. Residential's long-run growth record is still formidable. The Commonwealth Bank has house prices settling around 3% lower than they otherwise would have been. That's a repricing, not a rout. What's changed is narrower and I think more consequential than the price forecast suggests. The reason a great many people bought established residential in the first place, that reason has been quietly withdrawn. For anyone buying today, the calculus has shifted. You're now choosing between an asset whose central tax advantage is being switched off and one where it stays fully in place. When the government redraws a line through your industry, it pays to notice which side of it you're standing on. I'm Alan Weiss. Thanks for listening.